This problem, you have to group together the x squared and the minus 5x. So group them together like this. Y equals quantity of x squared minus 5x, leave a space, and put your plus 6. Half of the middle term, 2.5. If you want to do decimals, you can do decimals. Half of 5 is 2.5, and if I square 2.5, I get 6.25. If I add 6.25 on the inside, I have to do what on the outside? Subtract 6.25. You have to put it in completed square form now. Parenthesis, variable, sign from the middle, half of the middle term, close and square. 6 minus 6.25 minus 0.25. This one goes to the right, 2.5, and down, 0.25. 2.5 goes to the right because the general form of a completed square equation is the quantity squared of x minus h, and then a plus k on the outside. Since this is a minus sign in here, that means by default this value of h is just a positive h, and that's what you're taking out. It's really h that lets you know what direction you go to. But since it's minus h, whatever you come up with up here, like 2.5, that's really minus a positive 2.5. So positive means you would go to the right, even though there is that minus sign there. But the reason why plus, if you come up with it in the form like this, if one of your problems has a plus there, the reason why that must go to the left is because when you started with this and you had the minus, if this value is really negative 3, minus a negative 3 changes to plus, double negative. That's why it goes in the opposite direction. But if you can remember that plus is going to move it left and minus is going to move it right, it'll make it much easier on you. Complete the square on y equals x squared plus 10x plus 9, and then describe the translations. You have to group the x squared and the 10x together, but you have to leave a space and then put your plus 9 on the outside. Then you need half of that 10, which is 5. Square it to get 25, but subtract 25 on the outside. Parenthesis, your variable, the sign from the middle, half of that middle coefficient, close and square. 9 minus 25 is minus 16. Plus 5 goes which direction? Left, so it's going to go left 5. And then minus 16 goes down 16. You have to do x squared minus x together in a quantity. Leave a space, subtract 6. And then you need to do half of the middle term. Half of minus 1 or positive 1, whichever you do, it's still going to come out to be positive when you square it. Half of 1 is 1/2. So 1/2 squared is 1/4. Add 1/4 on the inside, subtract 1/4 on the outside. So x, the sign from the middle, half of the middle term, and simplify on the outside. And you could have had decimals. It means the same thing. Left, you have to go left 1/2 and down 6 1/4. If you have a number next to your x squared, you're still going to follow the same process, except you have to factor out that number to start with. 2 is by the x squared, so you put that 2 on the outside. And divide each of these terms by 2. 2x squared divided by 2 is just x squared. Don't worry about the x right now, just do 4 divided by 2. And that's 2. And then put your x down. Leave a space and add 10. Once you've done that, you're right back to the other problems that we were doing, with one small exception. Half of this 2 is 1. What is 1 squared? 1. But I'm not adding 1. That's right, I'm adding 2, because 2 times 1 is 2. So if I added 2 on the inside, I have to subtract 2 on the outside. And now you can write it in the proper form. 2, parenthesis, variable, sign from the middle, half of the middle term, close and square. 10 minus 2 is 8. And of course this one goes to the left 1 and up 8. This one has a 3 in it. So I need to group these two, but I'm going to move way over here so I have some room. I'm taking out what number? 3. And when I divide 3x squared by 3, what am I left with? 3 divided by 3 is just 1. So I have 1x squared left. 3x squared divided by 3, it's this divided by 3, gives me x squared. But 4, I have a 4 divided by 3. Just write it as 4 over 3. With an x, leave a space, and then your minus 12. Just think of it as not even finishing the problem. Now, since you guys like to use the decimals, I'll put this one in decimal form for you before we even do anything else. Let's convert that 4 over 3 to 1, and it would be 1.3 repeating. So whether you put 1 3 or 2 3s, it's the same thing. 1.3 repeating x, and then leave a space and minus 12. Then you still have to find half of your middle term. We want to find half of the middle term, so if it were a fraction, then I would be breaking this in half by doubling the denominator. If I broke this in half by doubling the denominator, I would have 4 over 6, which is the same as 2/3. If you want to break your 1.3 repeating fraction in half, then put 4 divided by 3 in your calculator and get an answer, and then divide it by 2. What do you come up with?
0.666.
Right, so you're going to come up with 0.6 repeating. Remember, that's half of this middle term. 0.6 repeating is half of this. But what do we have to do to the 0.6 repeating? No, we don't multiply it by 3. We've just found half of the middle term. You got to square it. You got to square it. So we'll go back again. Right here, this is what it was as a fraction. We made it a decimal. So 4 divided by 3 in your calculator is 1.3 repeating. Leave that in your calculator. Divide by 2 and come up with 0.6 repeating. And then hit the square button and you come up with what? What do you get when you square 0.6 repeating? So that is going to be 0.4 repeating that you have out here. But leave the 0.4 repeating in your calculator and now multiply it by what? 3. So times 3 gives us 1.3 repeating. So I've really added 1.3 repeating. So I must subtract it on the outside. Minus 1.3 repeating. So put this in the proper form. You have 3, parenthesis, variable, sign from the middle, half of the middle term, remember that was 0.6 repeating, close and square, and then 12 or minus 12 minus 1.3 should be minus 13.3 repeating. And this goes to the left, 0.6 repeating, and down 13.3 repeating.